Okay, so we're back. The sound of the rain never seems to stop. Kinda ironic considering that it's raining in real life right now. Ironic? Is that... Nah, I don't think that's the proper word. Am I hallucinating it? Maybe. From the moment I lent my ears to the which is sweet temptations, the mansion underwent an unimaginable transformation. No light shone through the windows, despite them still being unobstructed, not morning, day, or evening. In fact, the concepts of morning, day, and evening did not seem to exist. The darkness resembled that of when the windows had been sealed off, but there was something more fundamentally unreal about it. Like it was hovering over a vast, all-consuming abyss within a constant haze of malice. That's okay. I felt like I had been cast into some unknown realm, and that's why there. Wait, what? And that's why. Wait. That was why there was nothing beyond the windows. And the house was not the only thing that underwent change. I too was no exception. In the blink of an eye, all my basic human urges vanished. I stopped feeling hungry. I no longer needed to sleep. Naturally, I was bewildered by what had happened to me, what I was turning into. I think I'll look around. I will take a look around. Maybe there have been other changes. So I meandered through the mansion halls. My original intent was to explore the entire house, but I found myself drawn towards one room in particular. That night, your bedchamber. There was no light, not a trace of color remaining in your chambers. But the bed was the same shape. Wait, what? But the bed was the same shape, the walls the same texture, the curtains the same design as when you had been alive. Michelle, I am praying, I am always praying, that someday we'll meet again. Oh, there's something under the bed. What could it be? It's that painting. The white-haired girl. I never did get to ask why he got angry about me seeing this. Why he got so angry about me seeing this. I'm sure it's something he didn't want to be reminded of. Perhaps having to do with his family. I was right not pressing him about it. Why does it's smiling? What? Ah. Yeah, it just randomly began to smile. What the? Did the painting just smirked at me? Oh God. Ah. What? Oh jeez, Giselle. What are you doing tripping over yourself? It was just that accursed witch messing with your head. No need to get spooked over a tasteless prank. When I stumble, I guess I knocked a drawer open. There's something inside. Letters, it looked like. I shouldn't touch these, they're not mine. But I want something of Michelle's to have. Something to remember him by. His letters would be in his handwriting. They would contain his words. Please forgive me, Michelle. I don't mean you any ill will, but I'm going to take these. I must say there are an impressive number of... Eek, what? Blood? What on earth? It's like someone dumped an inkwell on every page, but why? What was this the witches doing? Yeah, it has to be. It must have been her. It definitely wasn't you, Michelle, was it? Why is the witch messing witches, though? Unless the mansion itself is reacting. Oh, with all the doors. The front door. I wonder what it's like outside. There, I can't get it open. What's going on? The bar isn't set, but it won't budge an inch. It's like up in the tower. I know, the windows. That's not gonna work. They should open, then I can... What's going on here? What the heck is going on? It's like there is an invisible wall in front of the window. My hand won't go any further. This is rich. What else can I do but laugh? What in the world? This is madness. Hurry up, Michelle. Return to me. And get me out of here. Please, get me out of here. Aw. I had no idea how to explain anything that had happened to the mansion. But it was clear enough that I was imprisoned within its walls. I was all alone in a nebulous sphere of bleak darkness, and beyond its walls lay a void. The layout of the house remained unchanged, but I felt as though I had wandered into a twisting labyrinth. I could cry, but there was no one there to soothe me. All it did was provoke her disembodied cackling, which she followed with, "You chose this, my dear. So you need to hold yourself together and keep wishing." Goddamn witch. My only real pastime was cleaning. I dusted the same corners again and again, swept the same floors, polished the same dishes. One day I decided I would read the books left in the library. Despite there being more than 100 volumes, I finished every one of them in what felt like no time at all. My life was a never-ending cycle. Day in and day out, day in and day out. The house had no visitors. No one. Rather, nothing at all set foot upon the property. There were no signs of other life whatsoever. No birds singing in the morning, no cats sunbathing in the garden, no mice scurrying about in the kitchen, no creepy crawly insects. There was nothing. Nothing at all. The only thing that broke that long stretches of silence was her voice, telling me was she too what? Wait, what? Telling me she kind to you? Was she friendly and courteous? Because she was quite harsh when she spoke to me. These were the kinds of things she would always say to me. He didn't show up today, did he, my dear? Are you still praying, my dear? Do you think he will actually come, my dear? I'm still wishing, just like I promised, my dear. You know why he hasn't come for you, my dear? Because perhaps he doesn't actually love you as much as you thought. My dear. My dear. My dear. Have you lost your mind yet? Shut up! I had enough. I'm done with you. Enough, please, enough already. Oh, what got you so worked up? You love to talk, don't you? So why not have a little nice chat with me? This is not a chat. Maybe not in your mind, my dear. You seem to think chatting only constitute conversations you enjoy. But I don't think the word usage needs to be so restricted personally. You're just getting off on watching me squirm. Oh, not at all. You'll have all my best wishes if he ever does show up for you. Nah. Ooh, scary. So scary. If you're making that face when he shows up, he might not even recognize you. What? You haven't looked in a mirror recently, have you? Go on then, my dear. See just how frightful you have become. No. The witch was right. I looked nightmarish. My face was pale and lifeless, my eyes hollow, my cheeks sunken, heavy bags beneath my eyes. My hair had lost its sheen and grew wildly. I was quickly losing everything that made me recognizable as me, and the thought sent a shiver down my spine. No, this isn't me. This is some kind of trick. You're trying to deceive me. Baseless accusations. You really must stop blaming people every time something doesn't turn out the way you want, my dear. But, my face was more what? More expensive, more cheerful, wait, what? More expressive, more cheerful, brighter, rosier. You're right, you were never this gloomy, were you? Right, I wasn't. I was always more cheerful than this. Naive girl. Could you be any more narcissistic? Huh? What you're looking at is undeniably exactly what you look like now. Wait, what? What you are looking at is undeniably exactly what you look like now. Yeah. Time did not do that to you, nor did I. The negative energy oozing from within you is what's causing you to take on this form. Did you think you didn't have any dark, ugly emotions inside of you? Did you believe that you would always be able to smile no matter what? Did you assume you were pure and beautiful? No one like that exists, my dear. What you see in the mirror is the true you. Your hideous, twisted heart. If you... If you weren't always being so nasty, this would have never happened. Anyone's heart would have been twisted listening to you long enough. So you're saying Michelle's heart was twisted too? I spoke to him for years. No. Hehehe. I'm just teasing. I suppose I may have crossed a line there. I mean you no ill will, Giselle. Honest. Allow me to give you one word of advice though. Look at yourself in the mirror often. If you continue deteriorating at this rate and end up looking like a corpse, when Michel comes and see you, he won't jump for joy, but run away screaming in terror. Stop talking. Please just stop. You know, Giselle, this is only the very beginning. He might not show up for hundreds of years. I can't live that long. Absolutely brilliant. You still think you're alive. What? The moment you agree to come with me, you cease to be of this world. So don't worry about time, my dear. You can wait as long as it takes. As long as it takes for him to arrive. As the witch had suggested, I started checking my appearance in the mirror every day. I wanted to ensure I didn't turn into some horrifying creature. My hair grew, so time... Wait, what? My hair grew, so time seemed to be passing, but I didn't appear to age at all. The flow of time had become perplexingly vague and uncertain. Was it stopped, or was it moving? I couldn't tell. On occasions, I would practice smiling in front of the mirror. My smile was, after all, my one really distinctive feature, and I was certain you had seen me smiling more than anything. Even if my appearance has changed drastically, I thought you would still be able to recognize me by my smile. A woman standing alone in front of a mirror practicing how to smile. I'm sure that was quite the comical sight. And that was about how my days went for an incomprehensibly long time. Whoa. Damn. More than 100 years. For the first 100 years I kept track on how much time had passed. An hour, a day, a month, a year, 10 years, 50. But once it had surpassed a person's average lifespan, the counting started driving me mad, and so I stopped. My sense of time began to numb. In place of sleep, I spent my days in a trance-like state. Doing so, I was less aware of the passage of time, which made it a little easier to bear. Suspended in this bubble of time, my mind went out to you. The next thing I lost a sense of was myself. I lived as a human for 21 years. After spending nearly 10 times that trap in the mansion, I began to feel like that was all I had ever been. That maybe my past was all a construction of my imagination. That, as an otherworldly being, I merely fantasized about being human. Had I actually had a family? Had there actually been other people in the world? Did cities and villages really exist? Was there ever really a time when light shone through the windows? When we were happy? But I knew if I started doubting everything, I wouldn't be able to maintain myself. So I settled on believing one thing. That you, Michelle, were real. And that you had been with me. That I had loved you. And that it was you I was waiting for. I try to always remember that one fact. Oh god. My characteristics, energy, and cheer were disappearing. By then I hardly ever raised my voice anymore. And in response to that change, the witch seemed to treat me a little nicer. On the occasion, I thought I could sense her presence nearby. Like she might reveal her form to me beyond the darkness, instead of only speaking to me. I could feel her sitting beside me. Giselle, do you think you're still Giselle even now? I suppose it doesn't matter either way. Sometimes I think love and fantasism are two sides of the same coin. What are you implying? Oh, nothing. I have no idea though. Why don't we make you some new clothes? Wait, what? I have an idea though. Why don't we make you some new clothes, my dear? Though the loom should still work thanks to your keeping everything in order. That outfit's an artifact of an age long past by now. You know how long it has been? Vaguely, but yes. As we speak, time still marches onwards. Not too quickly and not too slowly, but the same pace as your breathing. Now, on your feet, Giselle. We have plenty of time, so let's make you a perfect maid outfit. And if we don't have enough materials, we can make more thread from the sheets or the curtains. Hehehe, how exciting. Where do you get your supplies? Because in order to maintain a loom, you need supplies. Following her instructions, I wove garments in a style that did not exist in my era. They were quite strange to behold. The old me might have been stricken with fantasization by them. But at that point I wasn't even sure how to rejoice. How to be impressed or how to be moved anymore. This Yep. Wait, eventually we're gonna get to the Rose Manor. It sounds like rain again. Yeah, the rain sound. What? What year is it? Yeah, we know. Oh, it doesn't matter what year it is. It doesn't matter where it is. As long as you're there, it can be anytime, anywhere. Where are you, Michelle? What are you doing? I am still praying. I am still wishing for you to appear before me. Forever and ever and ever. And ever and ever and ever. I've been praying for so long. I don't even know how long it's been. Before you left, you said you were going to pray too. No, he didn't. You said you hope we could meet again in another... Okay, yeah. In another life. I'm not misremembering, am I? Probably. Michelle. Come back to me soon. I love you so, so very much. But my memories of you are starting to fade. What did your voice sound like? What kind of faces did you make? Where did you like to put your hands on me? I don't want to forget. I want to always remember. My memories of you are the only thing holding me together. But they're slipping away from me. How did you speak? What kind of things did you talk about? I'm losing all these memories. Please, Michelle, come back to me. Before I forget everything. My beloved master. The thought crossed my mind that maybe Morgana's guarantee that you would be reconstructed was just a lie to trick me into staying here. But I quickly discarded it, because if she had been lying, it would strip all meanings from my very existence. It would take from me my purpose for being here. So I didn't want to accept that possibility. That's a bad thing. I had no choice but to preserve in my belief that you would return. Wait, no. But to persevere in my belief that you will return. I had always thought I would be alright, that my fate would never waver. I still believe in myself. But you can be the happiest, most optimistic, resolute. I'm gonna pronounce that resolute person in the world, and you will still break eventually. And I was at the point where even the slightest tap will shatter me into fragments. Not even a year. Is something gonna happen now? The several hundred years after I was enslaved within the mansion, something changed for the very first time. Sunlight, which I had not seen in all that time, shone in from outside. At first, I did not believe it was real. I thought it was a hallucination, born of my inner desires. And I thought I must have completely lost it for my fantasies to have escaped my mind. But it didn't matter if it was all an illusion. The gentle breeze blowing in through the windows felt wonderful. The smell of grass, the chirping of birds, the glistening blue sky, it was like 1,000 memories rushing back all at once, and it brought tears to my eyes. The time has come, Giselle. It's time for you to get to work. Eh, and as she always did, the witch voice crushed my elation, dragging me back to reality. Reveling in the sight of the outside was just the last thing I should have been doing. Reveling in the sight of the outside was the last thing I should have been doing. For it was that moment that I began my true decline. Work. What kind of work? Have you already forgotten? Oh, good heavens, do you have your head on straight, my dear? As I said, I need you to watch over the house, and show your utmost hospitality to those who show up. Is someone? This is merely an appetizer. It looks like someone's here. Hold on, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. Do the same thing you have been doing. Be a maid. Convince the house guests that this is a wonderful place. Make them enjoy their stay. Now go on. I'm quite looking forward to this. The bar has been removed. But will the door open? For a long time the door had refused to budge. So for long light had forsaken these halls. For long there had been no trace of life. And now all of that had been turned on its head. I felt like I had stepped into heaven on earth. I know it sounds melodramatic, so please don't laugh. It was almost certainly a perfectly ordinary slice of nature. Leaves and grass rustled in the wind, flowers speckled the earth, and in the distance was a city I did not recognize. I wonder where I was, of course, but I neither shouted nor jumped in surprise. Instead, I found myself accepting of my circumstances as unnatural as they might have been. As I was standing there idly before the entrance, a carriage rolled up. Could this road be any bloody worse? It's in dire need of paving on top of everything else. And who might you be, young lady? That outfit. He's speaking a different language. The middle-aged man approached me. From his attire and the way he held himself, he appeared to be an upper class. However, the words coming out of his mouth were not in the language I had grown up speaking. Could the mansion have moved somewhere far, far away? Naturally, I had no idea how such a thing was possible. And the longer I stood there, staring at him absent-mindedly, the more incredulous he became. My immediate mission was to overcome the language barrier. Fortunately, I suppose I was able to understand bits and pieces of what he had said. As merchants in the capital, my family did business with people from other countries, and as a result, I had learned a handful of words. The problem was, it has been so long ago, I had no confidence whatsoever in my ability to hold a conversation. I am a servant. A servant? Can't say I remember asking for a lady servant, but I suppose these things do happen. Doesn't much matter who they sent. Who are you? You weren't informed? Bloody hell, off to a great start, I see. Well, what can you do, I guess. My name is Hayden Rose. Oh, Rhodes. This is the father of Mel. Just a retired old man. As I'm sure you have already guessed, the man was the Rhodes siblings' grandfather. He was also the first person I served under as the maid. For a member of an esteemed— oh, this music is back. For a member of an esteemed noble family, the Hayden was a bit on the eccentric side. He only hired a handful of servants, claiming he was not fond of a clamor. There was a single chef, a physician, a servant to take care of all the cleaning, and then there's me, who served as his personal assistant. Whenever he got the chance, Hayden would chase me down and make me practice proper etiquette. According to him, I had much to learn. You are at least technically a servant of the Rhodes family, young lady, so I can't have you going around playing the country bumpkin act. Oh, Giselle. Yes, sir. And we have to do something about that accent too while we're at it. I have an accent. The thicker than bloody molasses. Now, I have no interest in sticking my nose into your business, asking where you hail from. But while you're here, you must act the part, young lady. Luckily for you, I am retired and I have all the time in the world. I'll teach you everything you need to know about proper etiquette. Alright. Speak up, will you? Yes, sir. Hayden did not go easy on me either. In addition to my day-to-day duties, I studied etiquette, the language, proper pronunciation, and formal dictation. Anytime I made the slightest mistake, he would shout his dissatisfaction. Listen carefully. A servant is the face of the house. A servant gaffle is her master's gaffle. What the fuck is gaffle? Always keep this in mind. You are not just a maid. You must always act with elegance and grace. You must always maintain your composure even if the house is falling down around you. Whatever happens, you deal with it quickly and quietly. Your language must be immaculate. No or pauses. Damn. I would be a terrible maid because that's all I do. For any reason. Oh my god. Yes, sir. No stammering either. Oh my god. Sorry. Bloody hell, are you not going to... Bloody hell, you are not going to make this easy, are you? Whose idea was it that a country bumpkin would make a good servant? I'd like to give him a piece of my mind. I'm not from the country. Not even slightly. I was raised in the capital. Is that so? A prim and proper city girl, are you? In that case, you should be a quick study. Absolutely. I can learn anything in a week, tops pizza cake. Is that so? Alright then, starting tomorrow, I'm tripling your lessons, oh my god. I didn't think this true. In addition to being my master, Hayden was my teacher. When he yelled, he grew twice his size, and I shrunk half of mine. But it wasn't all an unpleasant experience, because I knew he wasn't raising his voice to belittle me. His instructions may have been harsh, but it was human interaction. There were people around that I could talk to, and that was wonderful. I was starting to regain some of my humanity. Unlike me, you've still got a long life ahead of you, young lady. You have no idea. I don't know what kind of life you lived, but I can't imagine it's been all that easy. Not many servant girls your age without a home to go back to. Which is why you need to learn this. Once you've got all the rules and custom down, you will be able to hold your own in any noble house, at any noble estate. You shouldn't have any trouble keeping yourself employed. I'm sure you think I'm just a loud, obnoxious old man, but I believe we met for a reason, so I hope you will stick with me. You're using, that's not allowed. I don't think about you like that at all, Master. You're a remarkable man. One more time. I deeply appreciate your generous consideration, Master, from the bottom of my heart. Hey. I didn't know much about Hayden's situation, why he had retired to this mansion all alone, away from the rest of his family. But anytime I asked about them, he would say, "It happens sometimes," with a melancholic tone. Melancholic, melancholic frown, wow. Before long, 2 years had passed. By that point, my etiquette had improved enough to satisfy his high standards. In that time, the mansion underwent a number of decor changes, as Hayden brought in sculptors to work on different areas of the house. He also sealed off rooms that were not in use, such as the observation tower and the chapel. It was a sad thing to seeing areas with so many memories for me falling into dissusties, whatever. But as a mere servant, I had no say in the matter. In addition, Hayden seemed to greatly enjoy renovating the house, so I watched him warmly. The furniture was all gradually replaced, gorgeous paintings hung on the walls, colorfully patterned curtains installed. And a brilliant rose garden planted. These roses come from all across the world. Nowhere else can you see so many different varieties in one place. It's beautiful. Did you know that in the city people are starting to call the mansion Rose Manor? Rose Manor. Hehe. To think there used to be nothing but weeds here. Amazing how much has that changed. I never thought I would see this garden turn into something beautiful. Something so beautiful. Are you fond of roses, young lady? Yes, red ones especially. Red roses mean a great deal to me. They remind me of a time long past. Given one as a gift, were you? Yes. No, I believe I was the one who gave the rose. Yeah. So red rose is a symbol of my feelings. They're very precious to me. I give you a rose as a gift. You plucked it from its stem and place it in my hair. Am I remembering correctly? Yes. My memories are so vague now. I can't even remember the look on your face that day. There are some kids I like to give roses to myself. Who? My grandchildren. Oh my, you have grandchildren. Hey, though we haven't been in touch for some time. Last I saw them was 4 years ago. When my second grandchild was born. The sweetest girl in the world with a lovely flaxen hair. Nellie. She was going to be a real beauty when she grows up. Anyways, they're wonderful kids. And one day I want to hand this garden over to them. Each and every rose containing my hope that they will lead a comfortable, healthy lives, free of strife. That's not gonna happen. I'm sure your wish will come to pass. Your grandchildren will have wonderful lives. No, they wouldn't. Hey. The grief of not having you around still weighed heavily on my mind. But I was slowly approaching contentness. Life with Hayden was slow and uneventful, peaceful and relaxing. I imagined my heart was seeking anything to alleviate its pain, and it found that in the beautiful remodeled mansion, the garden blooming wildly with roses, and my time with Hayden, I was even beginning to think this life was enough for me. That I would be okay with this being the end, if it meant more of the tranquility I felt. I was like a coward, considering giving up the fight. Please do forgive me for ever considering such a thing. Hayden seems to be in high spirits that day. A gift had apparently arrived from his son who lived far away. And it was a tea set, some leaves, and a small jar of sugar. Miss, how can I be of service, master? Brew me up a pot of this, would you? Be careful not to steep it for too long. You want to get it just right for the best flavor. As you wish, master. You seem quite pleased. Psst, why would I be? A boy who shunned his old man for years sent a paltry gift on a whim. I'm just entertaining his fancy. Hee hee hee. Hee hee hee. Your tea is ready, master. Ah, what a wonderful smell. Tea and roses are life's best damn spices. What? Tea and roses are life's best damn spices. Now let's see what that boy chose for me. If it's no good, I'll be sure to write him an angry letter. He looks so happy. He must really love his family. It's a little bitter. Shall I brew another pot? No, it's not your fault. It must be something in the leaves. Would you like me to add some sugar then? There was a small jar of it with the tea set. Now that's some bloody fine sugar he procured. White as snow, and sparkles in the lights. He chose it just for you, Master. Bloody hell, what demon possessed him? Alright, give me 2 spoons then. Yes, Master. Here you are. Splendid. This is some exquisite tea. The sugar balances the bitterness of the leaves perfectly. I guess that boy does have some... It's poison, isn't it? Master. It's poison, yeah, it's poison. Master. The doctor, I need to find a doctor. Water. I'll get you some water right away. So please hang in there. It's poison. It was bitter for a reason. If something is bitter, it's probably not good. Thanks to the quick treatment provided by his personal physician, Hayden survived. But he didn't make it out without more than his life. He was permanently bedridden by the affair. Evidently, the sugar I had put in his tea had contained a poison. Cyanide? No, that can't be cyanide, it will instantly kill him. Which had done irreparable damage to his nerves and muscles. Most of his body was completely immobile except for his left arm. Can I bring you something? Some water? I had more than my fill of water. You don't need to wait on me hand and foot. That face says you need to distract yourself by working. Remember what I told you. A noble family servant must always act with elegance and grace. You must always maintain your composure. But how can you expect me to remain composed? If I had only examined the sugar more thoroughly, you never would have noticed, young lady. I examined the sugar and didn't see a bloody thing wrong with it. He was damn crafty, that's for sure. Why would he do this? His inheritance, I presume. Something must have come up and he needed money quickly. That's no reason to poison your own father. Blood is nothing but an obstacle to ambition. Or maybe he just hated me. How could anyone possibly hate you? Wait, hold on. I just realized halfway through. Am I recording this? Yes, I am. Okay. How can anyone possibly hate you? Perhaps that would be said for the me you know. But when you were alive, when you live as long as I have, you're bound to make an enemy or two. Well, she's been alive longer than you, so I'm just saying. Mine just happened to be my son. I was planning to give him everything anyways. He didn't have to do this. It all would have been his. Master, killing me does not accomplish anything. But I guess it doesn't matter. But I guess it doesn't much matter. Say, can I ask you for something, young lady? What can I do for you? I don't want it to get out of that Hayden Rose. I don't want it to get out that Hayden Rose was poisoned. So could you tell people that I pass away peacefully with a beautiful nurse tending to my every need? Oh, this was a story that Mel heard. His grandfather died inside of a woman. It was all a lie. You're not dead yet. Please don't talk like that. You're scaring me. No stammering. But I'm not saying it will happen immediately. But I am an old man, and one day you will wake up and I will be gone. This is about my own pride, not my son. The last thing I want is to go out with a black spot on my name. Tell me, you do this, Giselle. Oh, she did tell him her name. He never said my name before. As you wish. Thank you. You're a particular girl, you know? Sometimes you seem greener than the leaves in the summer, and sometimes you seem like you've seen 12 kinds of hell. And every so often you seem not of this world. Aye. Your skin is pale, your hand as cold as ice. At one point I thought you might be Death himself. But I was wrong about that. You have too big of a heart to be dead. You care too much. You must be carrying a very heavy cross on your back. What am I supposed to do? I don't want to lose you, Lord Hayden. I don't want to lose this life. You have someone, don't you, young lady? Someone you're dying to meet again. Yes, but I don't know anymore. I don't know how long am I supposed to keep waiting. If something does happen soon, I don't think I can hold myself together much longer. I was so close to breaking down, and it was you who kept me on my feet. I'm sure you have tried to remain strong plenty of times, so I'll give you some different advice. A trick for when you're losing hold of yourself. Build a cocoon. A cocoon. A sturdy shell to keep your weak inner self safe. This world has no interest in protecting you, only swallowing you whole. So you mustn't readily expose your true self. You build a cocoon, and you play the role you need to play. That's why the real you will remain unharmed. It's not pleasant to hide yourself like that, but it's better than letting the world crush you. But a word of warning, if you spend too long in the cocoon, the real you is liable to disappear forever. You'll be swallowed up by your own protective shell. I hope you find whoever it is before it's too late. Now I think I'll get some sleep. All this talking is wearing me out. As you wish. Good night, Master. See you in the morning, or never again. Hey, see you in the morning, young lady. And that's how he dies. The next day, Hayden the next day, Hayden was dead. He didn't die of natural causes. He had strangled himself with his left hand. I should have been more attentive. I should have recognized how much pain he was in. How much it crushed him to have been betrayed by his own family. I should have realized how he truly felt, how fragile he really was. I fell into a hopeless gloom. I could hardly believe that the quiet life I had finally attained had been shattered in a blink of an eye. Hayden's other servants quickly went their own ways, and I vividly remember the dirty looks they all gave me. Everyone who knew how he had died assumed I had done it. I had no reason to kill him, though, but they had more than enough to believe so, for I had, indeed, been the last person to see him alive. And I held firmly to the story he had asked me to tell. While I was unable to convince the other servants, his family was far more accepting of the story, that he had departed for the next world happily. Though that did not make the truth any less heartbreaking, especially since I was the only one who knew it. Why does this always have to happen? I was happy, but I can never seem to keep a hold of it for more than a flash. Despair always comes marching in to rip it away. What am I doing here? What kind of person were you, Michelle? What kind of person was I? Hello. Oh, my dear, you look positively miserable. Why should you despair at the death of some strange old geezer? Morgana. Was Hayden one of those whom you wished to be reconstructed? I have no interest in that wrinkled bag of bones. And if he was one of them, do you really think I would have let him go so peacefully? Peaceful? You call that peaceful? You call his misery peaceful? I most certainly do. And since you do not seem to understand this, the pain of death lasts but an instant. The worst torture can only be inflicted upon the living. Setting two loved ones against one another, manipulating one into taking the other's life, and then forcing him to live with that. The stage hasn't been set yet, my dear. And you would have me play a part in that. Indeed. You agreed to accompany me. You are here by my guide, to be my guide. And you're doing a wonderful job of it so far. I haven't done anything. Oh, but you killed that old man, did you not? Thanks to you, my wish is one step closer to fruition. What do you mean I killed Hayden? You mean to claim you didn't. Tell me, who was it that put poisoned sugar in his tea? No, I didn't mean to. Your intentions are irrelevant. Everything moves along the path forged by my wish, and you shall continue to follow its will. You know what? I'm done feeling like this. I don't want anyone else to go through what Hayden did. And what are you gonna do about it? I'm done listening to you. Without me, you have no influence over this world. Hoo hoo. So I'll die. I'll take my own life right here and now. I grabbed a nearby knife and held the tip against my breast. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding, my whole body was racked with terror, but I could have sworn I heard Morgana's gasp. This was her one weakness, I thought. What are you thinking? Don't do this, Giselle. Don't be foolish. Put the knife down right now. I'm done trusting anything you say. Giselle, put the knife down. I miss you so very much, Michelle. I've wanted nothing more than to see you again. But if my being Morgana's guide is going to cause other people suffering, then I can't. It's all over, Morgana. There's no blood. Not even pain. Why? Absolutely brilliant. I told you not to be foolish, but you just wouldn't listen to me. Such a silly girl. I really am. Yeah, you're not human anymore. I couldn't even die if I wanted to. Learning that absolutely crushed me. My backup plan, the one escape route I had thought available to me and been ripped away, had been ripped away. My spirit crumbled and I felt myself sinking into a vast darkness. I began losing my grip on myself, which is when I recall Hayden's advice. Build a cocoon. It was the only option I had left, my final chance at protecting myself. Although ultimately I was unsuccessful in that endeavor, as you know. But by that point, my mind and spirit had all been lost. Eroded away by the years of solitude, the witch's whispers. The brief glimmer of happiness, and the eternal boundless darkness it had left in me. It was in that moment that all the light drained from my eyes, and it was in that moment that the maid was born. So she's now the maid. Oh my god, we're to the story. Please don't tell me I have to read the entire thing over again. I doubt. Oh, dearest Mel, come over here. No. You crazy sister. There are so many beautiful flowers, your obsessive sister. Now, Nellie, there's no need to run. You're going to fall, and you can't say I didn't warn you. The maid. Hello, I've never seen you before. Are you the new maid? Good afternoon, Nellie, Lady Nellie. That is correct, it's an honor to serve you. Oh, did you do all this? I did not. The garden was your grandfather, Lord Hayden's work. Wow, is grandfather a wizard? Perhaps he was. I'm sure he would be delighted to know you like it. Did grandfather like flowers? Yes, he loved them quite dearly. Wow, I love flowers too. I never seen a garden with so many pretty flowers. Did you know this kind of flower is called a rose? Just like our name. Why yes, they do sound alike. And like the flowers, you are also a very sweet little girl. Hehehe. Say, what's your favorite color of rose? I like all colors. But you don't like any. Wait, what? But you don't like any the most. That's too bad. Yes, red. My favorite is pink. Pink roses are so pretty. Indeed they are. Ah, jeez. There you are, Nelly. Oh, my apologies. Please don't mind my sister. Oh, not at all. She forgot her favorite rose color. We were having the most wonderful time. That's good. I imagine we'll be seeing each other around, so it's a pleasure to... There is Mel, there is Mel. Let me see what's it like inside. Mother say I have my very own room. Slow down, Nelly. I beg your pardon. The inseparable siblings ran up towards the mansion, hand in hand. It was a heartwarming sight that's about to go down in tragedy. But the next moment, when they stepped inside, I saw something else. The darkness enveloping the mansion seemed to flare up. The open door, a gaping maw into its hungry bowels. The whole house looked as though it was cackling. It was, I presume, the witch Morgana's madness taking form. A manifestation of how she felt now that her centuries in the making wish was bearing fruit. Because Mel entered the mansion? Those two children were the ones Morgana has been waiting for. Had I still had any willpower to fight left in me, I would have taken them by the hand and sent them somewhere far away. I would have done something before the house swallowed them up. But instead I gently lowered my eyes. Misfortune would surely sink its teeth into those two children before long. Pain and misery would befall them. I knew no good lay ahead for them, but my heart had all but frozen solid. I had my hands full taking care of myself. So I let Hayden's beloved grandchildren fall into the witch's hands. I was, for all intents and purposes, Morgana's marionette. The witch Morgana. At long last it has arrived. The time I have been waiting for so long has arrived. Darling, devoted Giselle. Know not how to describe for you the fury, excitement burning within me. Oh, I know, I could tell you my story. Your story? We're gonna know your story. I'll tell you exactly what that mild-mannered little boy once did. You'll be open to listening now, won't you, my dear? And you surely understand that I'm doing nothing wrong. Because you are my ally, my trusty servant. You and I, we live in the same world. We were as close as family. We are as close as family. Are we not? Yes, as you say. So let us curse them, all of them. Let us inflict a pain worse than physical torture on them. Let us put their souls on the rack for all eternity. Curse them, make them suffer, curse them. Now listen carefully, Giselle. This is a tale of wicked men and my curse upon them. We're getting a witch story? The witch spat her curses for some time. The bile overflowing from her words, the pure, unadulterated hatred brimming within, consume me more than the horrifying things they describe. She was brutally honest, each word a carefully sharpened blade of animosity. Animosity pronunciations. How much bitterness did you have to carry inside you to become like her? How long did you have to feel nothing but hatred to become like her? I felt like if I let my guard down, I would be consumed by her enmity. I know that word. It would have become mine, and I would have grown to despise them myself. All the while I kept my mind on one single thing. That is, what was left of my mind locked away inside the shell of my own creation. It was that solitary truth that allowed me to hold on to my human emotions and continue believing. I'm always waiting. My love will never fade. When I was still my old self, I called them master, and I would do anything for them. Michelle. That was their name. They were beautiful. They had pearly white hair and ruby eyes. They are going to come for me. Oh no, we can't remember anything, can't we? Michelle. All I can remember about you is your name, your glassy white skin, your fiery red eyes, and your snow-colored hair. Nothing else. And that's why when I saw her that night, dripping from the storm raging outside, I thought you're finally here. The white-haired girl. Because I didn't remember enough to know you any better. You already know who I speak of, don't you? The person who called upon Rose Manor that fated stormy night. The girl with almost translucently pale skin, chillingly white hair and eyes like jewels. What a beautiful girl. Her hair, her eyes, her porcelain skin. It all matches the person in my memory. She must be the one I've been waiting for. If she is... Who is that, actually? We never get an explanation of who that is. Is something the matter? No. I just thought I felt someone watching us. Mel. It's only your imagination, I'm sure. If not your imagination, then perhaps some unseen force was watching you. Unseen force? Are you familiar with how people refer to this mansion? Rose Manor. Yes, indeed. It's called Rose Manor because you can smell the sweet fragrance of the rose garden even at a great distance. But that is not what I meant. It is said that a witch resides within the house. A witch. I have not heard any such stories. You probably wouldn't have. It was a very, very long time ago. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. You have a particular presence about you. Should I consider that a compliment? The A particular presence, she says. Does she have a sense of something in me, as do I? Wait, what? Does she have a sense... Does she sense something in me, as I do her? This has to be her then. Her name. I need to ask her name. It's getting late. You should get some rest. A room has already been set aside for you. But first, may I ask you one thing? Yes. I do not believe you have given me your name yet. My name? My name is... Michelle. Michelle Lee. Is she really Michelle, but just reincarnated as a woman? I knew it. You're the one. What? You're the one I've been waiting for. I've endured so much in anticipation of this moment. So that I could reunite with you. You came to this place to see me again, did you not? Held tight to those wonderful memories until you can make it back to me. I never gave up hope. I've always believed, and I hope you will praise me for that. And I ask you to please say my name. To please make me. I don't know anything about you. Michelle. I'm sorry, you seem to be confusing me for someone. We have never met before now. You are Michelle, are you not? That's my name, yes, but it's a fairly common name. Surely you're confusing me with... That cannot be. That white hair, white skin, those red eyes, and that name, that's the name of the Archangel. Everything about you is the same. How can you say you're not my Michelle? Please, Michelle, remember me. Remember for me. Stay away from me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude, You would reject me. I'm so sorry. I honestly don't know you. Do you care nothing anymore for the time we spent together? We have not spent any time together. You would deny everything. I'm sorry. I see. So you feel nothing for me anymore. You do not need to say anything, I understand. You are feeling a great deal of disgust towards me. No, Well, perhaps it's fear. Yes. You are always so kind. You would not easily allow yourself to succumb to hatred. I understand. Please forget everything I have said. Who are you? I am but a simple maid, nothing more. Is that the reconstructed Michelle? Laughable, isn't it? I no longer recognize Michelle as anything more than a concept. Man or woman, elderly or infant, as long as they had white hair, red eyes, and the right name, they were you. I need anything I could get. I was so desperate. Des desperate, right? Yeah, I was so desperate. I thought never even the thought never even crossed my mind that she was not you. What do you think, seeing me like this, that I am helpless and hopeless? Listen to this, Morgana. Michelle is back. She finally come for me. But she does not remember anything, it seems. Not me, not our past, nothing. She saw me and was afraid, in fact. Are you listening, Morgana? Ah, darling, devoted Giselle. You poor pitiful soul. That must have been quite a harrowing. But don't worry, you still have me. Besides, this might not be your only chance. As long as you continue on, Michelle could appear before you again. Do you think she will remember me next time? I can't say, it's up to Michelle. You have another option though. Forget Michelle, yourself, and seek a new master. Someone who can be yours. Someone dedicated and faithful who needs you. Someone worthy of this mansion. Someone who needs me. That's right. Michelle didn't need you after all. It's alright, don't worry. You have plenty of time. But I want to know, what did Mel do to you that you want to take revenge on him? What did Mel do to Morgana that she wanted to take revenge on him? Yeah, this is basically going through the story. I'm so glad I don't have to read through the entire story again. Oh, we're back here. Oh, tragedy. We never got to see the aftermath of what happened. Yeah, this. Rain. It's raining again today. I kind of wonder what happened to him after he fled from the mansion. Although I suppose it doesn't matter much to me. It doesn't much matter to me, whatever. The witch is surely watching him. Such a dreadful storm. It sounds like someone is crying. I was, at that point, completely out of my mind. Broken. My smiles, frowns, and gaps had all been replaced with imitations. Shortly afterwards, the flaxen-haired boy moved out of the house and went on to become a priest. The girl fell ill a few years later, her disease eventually taking her life. But the boy never once returned home. The Rhodes family crumbled. I couldn't bring myself to grieve for them. or to reflect on Hayden's sorrowful end. I simply waited for time to begin moving once more. That was the Rose. This is Beast. Are we going on to like the Beast story? Little remains to be said about my broken self. But as I stated before we began, this is the mate's tale. So I would like to take this opportunity to elaborate on events I was unable to show you before. That is, if you can bear listening to such a dismal, miserable story. The Beast. I already told you of my meeting with the Beast, so I will begin the second tale from here. After Bestia slaughtered the merchant who had showed up at the mansion, his mad laughter echoing through the halls. Yukimasa. Oh, we call him Yukimasa this time. Damn! Did you hear that? Hey, did you hear that? Did you hear his screams? He said I was a monster. A mutilated body lay sprawled across the living room floor. As you can imagine, that was my first time ever seeing such a bloody, mangled corpse. I could not look directly at it, so I averted my eyes. Hey, you saw it. I just proved that the beast was stronger than humans. Indeed you did. I know. I've got a great idea. You asked if I wanted to become the master. And I said yes. And I said I did. Which means you work for me, is that right? So you do whatever I tell you, won't you? What would you have me do? Chop off his arms and legs and make a stew out of them. And don't you hesitate or you end up like him, not like you could kill her. Yes, master. He's trying to assert his total dominance over me. That's not proper behavior for the master. Although I am the one who offered him the role. Do it! He's an utterly mad beast. But I am really all that different. There's blood all over my hands. It sounds like someone's laughing. Is it him or is it her? No matter what happens, it won't affect me. The cocoon is not the real me. I was looking down at what could only be described as a pile of human debris. I had done this, but that fact did not register with me. I felt nothing at all. Not regret nor anger. Not regret, not anger, not sorrow or despair. Put it on the fire. He said he traded in spices that should give him a very unique flavor. How am I supposed to work with this? I was quite simply puzzled. No one had never made such a request of me in my 100 years at this mansion. That's all I was puzzled. But he interpreted as hesitation or fear. So he grabbed me by the shoulder and knocked me to the floor and secured me with that curious blade of his. For the first few moments he swore that He wore a deranged grin on his, but as the seconds passed, it slowly transformed into shock. Not a drop of blood spilled from my breast. And the instant he realized it, I saw revulsion in his eyes. Him, of all people. A man who cackled as he slaughtered others was disgusted by a mere maid. A maid, it was absurd. So much I almost wanted to cry. You. Is that all, master? Are you not going to dismember me? You could try stabbing my face or my neck or my stomach or any other part of me. Maybe then I might die. Oh no, don't look at me like some exotic creature. Like I'm some exotic creature. Yeah. Stop that. Quit laughing. Why should I? My only distinctive feature is my smile. I have nothing else. My hands are covered in blood, but I can still smile. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I get it now. You're the witch, aren't you? Ah, I see. Only monsters ever have a place here. Only monsters ever had a place here. Every so often I hear a woman's voice in my head. That's you, isn't it? You're the witch. Monster, witch, maid. What am I? Who is Giselle? Michelle said she was a spirit. She was spirited. True to herself. That she often laughed and cried and shouted. Oh god, everything's becoming distorted. But I don't know anyone like that. I'm just a maid, nothing more than a servant. The woman's voice he had said he heard was probably the real witch, but I had no interest in that. I almost would have preferred not having to think about anything at all. Nothing would cause me to waver if my head was empty. A world without joy or sorrow sounds quite wonderful. But nothing ever went the way I planned. For the white-haired girl whom I thought I would never see again appeared before me once more. I was quite nearly in a panic. Beneath my perfectly practiced smile was a veritable storm of emotions. Faint hope flared up within my shell. Perhaps this time, Michelle will remember me. But that hope was unsurprisingly in vain. Is someone there? Yes, I came to ask if there was anything you needed. I cannot offer you anything extravagant, not like before, but I am here to provide you with anything in my capacity. I appreciate the offer, but I need nothing. Being allowed to stay the night is more than enough. Do you work here in the mansion? Yes, indeed I do. I've been there for a very, very long time. A very long time. You might think this is an odd question, but have we met before? Something about you seems familiar. And I get the feeling I have been in this mansion before. Yes, we have met. It was quite some time ago though. When was it? It was an unimaginably long time ago. Do you remember a boy and a girl with flaxen hair? Flaxen hair? I apologize. My memory fails me. Do you not remember me either? I was afraid of this. She doesn't remember anything this time either. But I will not be so pushy this time. I cannot bear to be so blatantly rejected again. I see. You should probably not push yourself to remember then. There were joyous times and then there were less than joyous times. But would you be so kind as to answer one question? What might your name be? My name is Michelle Lee. It's not Michelle, it's Michelle E. But the L-E is probably silent. White hair, red eyes, the name Michelle. Why must you continue to bring me pain? Why can you not set me free as you were supposed to? I see, you are Michelle again. Again. You should get some rest. I will make tea for you in the morning. Also, go on, close your eyes. The white-haired girl lay so quietly in her bed I could not tell whether she was asleep or awake. Even the sound of her breathing was too faint to hear. Standing over her, looking down at her, the locked-away despair and wails of lamentation, I thought myself no longer capable of came bubbling back to the surface. But can you honestly blame me? I have been waiting for Michelle for so long. She was the one thing holding me up. She was the only thing keeping my broken self from falling apart completely. Yet she claimed not to remember me. Did you pity her having to go through tragedy after tragedy? But every time she showed up, she said she did not know me, bringing me even more grief. Hold on. Bringing me more and more grief. I have been waiting for hundreds of years. Waiting for her for so long, my mind slipping away with every passing day. Waiting and waiting and wait. My apologies. I have to be careful or slip back to what I was then. If you weren't here holding my hand now, I'll... Tell me. You are Michelle, aren't you? That's a relief to hear. Yes, thank you. I'm alright. Do you think I am as muddled as I feel? Let us return to the tale then. You don't know what it feels like. You don't know how much it hurts for someone you've waited for so long to say they don't know you. You have no idea how much it crushes me. Rather than feel it like this anymore, maybe I should just end it all with my own hands. I reach my hands out towards her slender neck. I was not an especially strong woman, but I thought even I would be able to suffocate her with relative ease. She was blind at that, so she wouldn't be able to run. However, that was one thing I could not bring myself to do. I can't do it. I ran, and I ran, and I ran, though I knew I had nowhere to run. plunging myself into the mansion's darkness. I did not want to be there any longer. I did not want to have anything to do with her. But being an inhuman inhabitant of the house, I could not close my eyes. I either plugged my ears to what had happened within its walls, as much as I may have wanted to. It didn't matter whether I was. It doesn't matter where I was. I had no say in the matter. I was forced to observe the events until their tragic conclusion. Twisty, bloody madness. The wretched wails creating a whirlwind of misery. When it was all over, Morgana cackled like a little girl. Go on, you have a laugh too, my dear. There is nothing in the world better than this. He was a beast, true and true. And what a fool he was to think he could become human. I love it. He destroyed everything he had with his own hands, and then couldn't even manage to mourn for it. Quite the unfortunate fate, wouldn't you say? Go on, laugh with me. Laugh with me, my darling, devoted Giselle. Michelle is dead too, though. You worried about that tiny little detail? She'll show up again, of course. So you don't need to worry about a thing. You don't need to feel bad about any of this carnage. Rest easy, my darling, devoted Giselle. If you say so, then I shall not be concerned. Yes, that's a good laugh. Laugh, my dear. Yeah. Both of them are crazy. Does anyone else? Okay, so that was the beast. Next one is Jacob. Right? Jacob. I apologize for making you listen to my dreadful stories for so long. You must be quite weary of them by now. But worry not, for this is the final one. And despite being the end, it is neither dramatic nor exciting. It was a single phrase, the most insignificant of things, that caused me to completely lose myself and forget I had long ago been the woman called Giselle. There was no malice in it. It was but a simple greeting. Do you remember how the first time she arrived? No. Michelle said I had a particular presence about me. She felt something there between us. And the second time she said something about me seemed familiar. She did not remember why, but her soul recognized the bonds we shared. So I assumed that the next time she showed up, she would feel something even stronger, or perhaps even have her memories. Despite having been let down again and again, I still held on to the faintest glimmer of hope. But when she appeared, she was someone else's wife. Hey, head maid. Get out of here. Wait, what? Get out of here. Oh, get out. I thought he said get out of here. Get out of here. I'm right here, sir. Is something the matter? I figured you should get to know her as soon as possible, since you'll be spending a lot of time looking after her. Hey, get out of here. Christ, there is not a goddamn confident bone in your body, is there? I'm sorry. I'll be right out. Meh. The first thing she said when she saw me was, It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. What I had spent all that time waiting for. It was all for naught. It was all meaningless. In this era, she felt nothing at all for me. In retrospect, it makes enough sense. But for me, at the time, that was the end. Morgana, Morgana, cast me into darkness. Make me a formless being like you. I don't want to be here another second. I don't want to look at her ever again. Morgana, Morgana, please listen to me. I'm begging you. Now, what's the matter, my dear? It's not like you to throw a tantrum. I can't take it anymore. I can't do this. Michelle again. Oh, you poor thing. Betrayed 3 times in a row. 3 times now. Morgana. You pitiful girl. Don't groan like you're having a bad dream, my dear. I am here for you. Please, Morgana. Erase me from existence. If you go away, then I will be all alone. That would be absolutely dreadful. But Tell me, what torments you so, my dear? What? Michelle, who I've been waiting on for so long, doesn't... Oh, you poor thing. You spent so long riding the currents of time that you've lost sight of yourself. What? You've convinced yourself that someone else's story is your own. Someone else? Yes, indeed. It was such a beautifully tragic tale that you fell in love with it. It resonated so deeply with you that you felt their pain as if it were your own. What are you talking about? I wanted to tell you, my dear, but you were so convinced it actually happened to you that I couldn't bring myself to take it away. She's gonna lie and say that her past life never happened. Then what about Michelle? She is not the one you're waiting for. That is true. But it's a half-lie. And you're not hers either. Then what about Giselle? That's not your name. That is a full-on lie. That is not your name. Then who am I? Who are you? That's a very silly question. You are this mansion's cursed witch. I am the witch. That you are. You are both the maid and the witch. But how? Do you really believe that someone who has eternal life, who doesn't bleed when they're cut, and who can smile no matter what happens to her isn't a witch? How much of this Giselle's memories do you actually possess, my dear? How clearly can you remember her life? You can't, can you? You don't know what kind of story Giselle and Michelle wove. And you wouldn't, because you were merely an onlooker, much like you are now for this present tale. You're a great manipulator, Morgana. I just want to say that. And by contrast, how much of the witch story do you know? You should know it very well. Yes, but that's because you would know. My telling it to you is not the reason. The details are rooted deep within your memory. That's right, you are the cursed witch Morgana. Then who the fuck is you? That makes no sense. But I am you. You split into two because you refused to accept who you were. Think about it. Have I ever shown you my... Oh my god, you are such a good manipulator. You broke her and then replaced her identity with yours. Have I ever shown myself to you? Have I ever shown myself to anybody? That's why. I am. I am the witch. That you are. I see, it all makes sense now. Everything has fallen into place. There's one thing I still don't understand though. This story, I was so enamored with Giselle and Michael's story. Giselle and Michelle's story. What kind of story was it? I would be glad to tell you a lie. She's gonna tell you a lie. You look like you already know the truth. Wait, what? Did I read that properly? You look like you're ready to know the truth. I believe every word she said. All my worries melted away like they were nothing. The sight of the white-haired girl no longer kicked up waves in my heart. In fact, I found myself wishing for her to find happiness. I was an observer, watching and hoping for the best. The tragedy that befell her did sadden me, but I felt bad for her like I would a character in a story. I brought you your medicine, master. Thank you, just set it down over there. Yes. What are you staring at? My apologies. I was simply musing about how much time has passed. I can hardly believe it has been 40 years since you were a bright young businessman. And you haven't aged a day. Why, thank you. I am a witch after all. Well, I don't much care what you are. You could be the Grim Reaper for all I care. You still work harder than anyone else. May I ask you a question, master? What is it? Why have you not returned to your homeland? I thought it was a place quite dear to you. I can't wait for her back there. Do you still believe she will return? To a degree, I understand how difficult it can be to wait. Though for me, waiting now brings more joy than pain. With your lifespan, master, it will be the pain that wins out. Perhaps you should consider letting go. Tell me, was her name really Michelle? Why, yes, it most certainly was. But why would you ask such a thing? Have you forgotten your own wife's name? You waited so long and so long that it seemed like me. It would seem like me. What? Some part of you has begun to break down. It would seem like me, some part of you has begun to break down. You poor, poor man. That's something that the witch will say. You know, you look a whole lot more pitiful than me. Oh my. Oh, there you are. What has you in such a flurry, my dear? You are a noble servant. You must maintain your composure at all times. But the master, what about him? He was found deceased in his chambers. The doctor just came out. He said it was his ailment, and it would seem the master knew his time was short, for he left a will, asking not to be given a funeral. I see. I feel kinda bad for him though. Not only did he not have anyone at his side for his final moments, he didn't want to be sent off at all. Isn't that sad? It is for the best. There is not a single soul in this world left who can send him off. With your era drawn to an end, this mansion will soon return to existing nowhere in this world. I wonder what the next one will look like. I wonder if misfortune will befall her once more. That will be quite regrettable. Perhaps, if I could convince her of her tragic fate, she would be willing to disappear from this realm with me. And if she wishes to fight that fate, perhaps she will become my next master. Calling her master seems inappropriate, but I cannot think of a word that fits better. I eagerly await the next era. Please do not keep me waiting for long, master. That's why I appear, right? Time press onward. And then, at long last, you arrived. Oh, splendid. There's no one there. She completely lost it. You have finally awoken. I have simply been waiting for so long for this moment. There's no one there, Giselle. Tending to the mansion all by my lonesome, ensuring it was ready for your return, master. Whatever that time may be. When I caught sight of you through the window, my heart fluttered. This is the beginning of the visual novel. The time had finally arrived. Oh my, do you not know who I am? Do you not know who you are either? That's quite the predicament. Then how about this? I am a servant of this mansion, and as such I am familiar with the many incidents that have taken place here. I shall show you the history of this house, master. Let us be off then. And fear not, I merely entreat you not to let go of my hand. Should you hold it tightly, you need not worry about being washed away by the waves of history. No matter what happens, you mustn't let go of my hand. That's me. No matter what happens, no matter what you see, never again let go of this hand. That is everything. I prepared a number of things to say when she was finished with her tale, but I can't manage to put any of them into words. I almost hate myself for thinking it would be so easy, for letting myself hope I could simply pull her back to her old self, accept whatever had happened, accepting whatever had happened to her. Take her hand in mine, and that would solve everything. The truth is so much worse than I imagined, so much more harrowing. She was subjected not only to her own terrible fate, but every single one of this house tragedies. The tales she has told me are things she witnessed with her own eyes. How can I possibly blame her for forgetting me for forgetting herself? After so many hundred of years. No, I should be. Why? Why didn't you come for me? Why couldn't I have returned before she was so far gone? Why? Why did you show up now? Giselle. Because you opened the door to my memories, I now remember everything. But I didn't want to remember. I didn't want to be reminded of all those empty years. Of the people who passed on, leaving me behind. Of you who refused to show up no matter how much I begged. I am not the Giselle you knew anymore. I may have my memories, but I cannot go back to that time. My hands are stained with blood, my soul worn thin. The girl who would laugh at the simplest thing, who would tell silly jokes and wasn't afraid to speak her mind, does not exist anymore. That Giselle is dead. How can you say I am the same girl? How can you say I feel the same way I did? How can I say I seem to feel the same way I did? Okay. How can you be sure that even now I still love you? Can you deny the possibility that I no longer yearn for you? But the white-haired girl, can you deny the possibility that my love for you has transformed into hate? She brings her hand towards my throat, and I make no attempt to move out of her way. When her fingers brush against my skin, they feel as frigid as death itself. Far colder than anything I have felt from her thus far. If she were to wrap her hands around my neck, she wouldn't even have to squeeze to stop me from breathing. This is the fork in our road. One word will decide everything. I don't have much time. I have to say something before the cold rob me of my voice. Oh, fuck, deny it. Deny what? Is that the only thing I'm able to do? I wanted to deny it. She may have forgotten me, but what she felt still remains as evidenced by her attraction to the white girl who had many physical similarities to me. Her feelings are still there. I need to deny it. I sincerely believe that. But her Arctic gaze caused me to waver for the briefest of moment. I need to go back and redo that. Caused me to waver for the briefest of moment. Perhaps I only wanted to deny it for my own selfish reasons. It's only for a few short seconds. But those seconds decided it all. No, what? Farewell, Michelle. Deny. She slid her slender fingers down my neck and then gently shoved me back. Zell. I need to redo that. I'm falling. Sinking into my own darkness. I reach my hand out, but I cannot grasp anything. Her hand, the hand I held for all this time, is so far away. I try to shout, but nothing comes out. I can neither answer her original question, nor say her name. Down and down, into the infinite void, darkness consumes everything. My voice, my hands, my very being, and her gaze. My consciousness slip away. Why? Why did I hesitate? Damn it! That was my fault! I wish I could have at least told you that I still love you, even if you did not love me. Is this a bad end? Please no. I saved so far back. No, I failed! Are you sure you really want to let him go? Oh no. Yes, I am sure. I see. I don't think I'll ever understand. If you hate someone, you should chain them down and torture them for all eternity. It was the perfect opportunity to trap his soul. I do not hate him. Oh, is that so, my dear? After everything you said, I simply assumed. I could never come to hate him. I could never want to see him dead or tortured. Ooh. Then why did you say what you did? I don't think you would understand. Probably not. I'm not particularly interested in understanding either. It doesn't matter what happens in the interim. In the end, nothing changed, has it, my dear? You are still my darling devoted maid. With enough time, you would once more forget your name. Damn it. I made a wrong decision. I wasn't fast enough. What a wonderful world this is. Is it gonna give me a dead end? Ending 4! A moment of hesitation. Fuck you. Damn it! I need to redo that. Hold on. No, it's restarting the freaking game. Hold on, I'll be back. Oh. But actually, what? I'll do that in another video, actually. I'm gonna upload this just because. Damn it! I'm gonna be back though.